So many of you have asked me to make a video on how to make Spaetzle. And if you don't know exactly what Spaetzle are, they're these tiny little egg dumplings, egg pasta, German. They're from southern Germany. Actually, I was born in Stuttgart, which now I can't even decide which language I'm going to talk. Okay, Stuttgart, which is right in the heart of Swabia, where everybody eats Spaetzle all the time. And in preparation for this video, I found this book that friends of mine from actually preschool gave me in the early 2000s, and I know that you're going to love this because this is Swabian Spaetzle Kitchen, or Spaetzle Kitchen, or Spaetzle Cooking. And I know you would like this because it has a bunch of umlauts. So I'm not going to really use a recipe from this book, and I'm just going to show you my own recipe and how easy it is and various ways that you can make it, because there might be some tools involved that you don't have or maybe don't yet quite have. It's actually very basic. The ingredients, all I need is some flour, I have some eggs, I have salt that I already measured out, and some water, and over here I have my nutmeg grater. This is not really essential, however, I love nutmeg with everything. This is 400 grams of flour. I'm using all-purpose flour because that is what most people have access to in this country. In Germany, you can get a specific Spaetzle flour that typically just has a bit of semolina flour in it. And I'm going to add my salt. And because I'm a neat, efficient cook, I'm just stirring the salt into the flour here. So you can absolutely make this without an electric handheld mixer. When you think about any recipe that's decades old, people didn't used to have this, and you can absolutely make this with a spoon. People used to actually really beat the batter or dough, or whatever you want to call it. But I find that an electric handheld mixer is just a lot faster, and why not be modern if it helps? Plug this in here. And I'm just going to crack my eggs right into the flour. Some recipes will want you to weigh out your eggs so that it's consistent. However, I find that the biggest variable in this recipe really is the flour, and I'll talk about the right consistency for this Spaetzle dough. One more. I'll start mixing in the eggs. First I poke them so they don't go anywhere, and I like a really big bowl so that nothing flies around. And now I'm slowly going to add my water. So this is a little thick, and I don't know if you can see this, but my batter here is really orange from my free-range pasture-raised eggs. They have really dark yolks. So I'll add a little bit more water, in fact. I still think that this is a little bit too thick. You want a thick pancake batter consistency. But then it also depends a little bit on which kind of Spaetzle maker you're using. I probably beat this for 5 minutes, and what really I'm looking for is that my batter is starting to have little bubbles in it, that's exactly what you want to do. So now before I forget it, I'll add my nutmeg, and I have this grater here with a fresh nutmeg. If you can only find ground, that's fine. I always like fresh. We'll give this one more quick whirl. And now I am putting this dough in my refrigerator for 15 minutes, and I want the whole batter to rest and relax a little bit and come together, and the flour to really hydrate before I'm actually going to make my Spaetzle. Can you leave it in the refrigerator longer? Let's say you are running out of time and you want to have it ready to make it for dinner, but you want to prepare the batter beforehand. You can absolutely do that. I would always keep it in the refrigerator. Because of the raw eggs, I wouldn't keep it in there for more than 48 hours, but you know, longer is better than 15 minutes, but because I want to get going with the video, I'm not going to wait much longer than that. And while my Spaetzle dough is resting in the refrigerator, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what kind of Spaetzle maker you can use. Now, remember, this is, I don't know, a century-old recipe, and people didn't have fancy tools. So what they would do, and this is the really traditional original method, is they would create a stiffer batter than I just showed you and spread that with the back of a wooden spoon on a board like this. They would have their pot of boiling water, actually not really boiling, but like hot water over here. And then they would just take a knife and in very thin slices scrape the batter right into the hot water. And that's a little bit more labor intensive, but it is the traditional original method that is still used by people today. I haven't been really successful with it, so that's what I'm going to show you today. What I love using, and these are really readily available, I will be leaving links in the description box where you can find these Spaetzle makers. And this is one that I like because it has the big round holes. Some have more like a half crescent, like a half moon shape. And all you do is you put your dough in here and then you move it along, and the dough, the Spaetzle, fall out on the bottom. That also influences the shape of your Spaetzle a little bit. Some people love the little round, I call them buttons. In Schwäbisch they're called Knöpfle. And they're a little rounder, a little smaller. They're almost like little tiny dumplings. And then some people like them a little bit more elongated, almost like a short pasta. So that kind of depends. If you have none of these, what you can also do is have a colander with big holes. Now these holes are too small. If you compare those holes with this, that's not going to work. But some people do have colanders with bigger holes, and you can put the dough in here and then press it with the back of the spoon, and the Spaetzle will fall out on the bottom. A lot of people also like using a Spaetzle press. It's basically like a potato ricer, and it works the same way. You have a receptacle, you have the long handles, you put the batter in here, and then you press it down, and out come these little long strings, and that's how you typically get them. And that's called Spaetzle Presse or Spaetzle press. So I'm going to show you how you can make the Spaetzle with this device, with this Spaetzle maker. It's actually been a little bit more than 15 minutes, but here is my Spaetzle batter, and you can see all the bubbles, very nice. I like the consistency, and sometimes you really don't know if it's the right consistency until you make the first batch, because some people like them thinner, some people like them a little bit thicker, and some people just need to, like, you know, test the first batch. So that is really what I can say in terms of getting the right consistency. My water is nearly boiling, and I don't really want it at a rolling boil. I want it more hot than boiling, because otherwise they'll cook really fast and get a little bit too chewy. I need to put this somewhere. And I'll add salt to the water. have a slotted spoon. This is my preferred method. And over here, as you can see, I have a cast iron skillet with some melted butter that I have already going. This is ideal if you're making the Spaetzle as a side dish. If you like to make them on their own, you can always fry up some onions in some butter and oil and caramelize them until they're brown, and then grate some cheese and mix the cheese right into the Spaetzle in the butter and with the Spaetzle, and then you get the nice stringy melted cheese, and then you just top it with the caramelized onions, and that is a very popular dish in Germany. So let's see how this is doing. We'll put on the Spaetzle maker just like this, and I have a little ladle here. Putting that in there. And then I move it back and forth. And they fall right in. And then in the meantime, because there's all this batter sitting there, I'll move it over here. You can use the slotted spoon to move them around a little bit. And as they're floating to the top, you can always strain them in a strainer, but I like this because then they get hot right into the melted butter. Saves me one trip, and it actually works really well. We'll make the next batch. And this time I'll try to add a little bit more batter than the time before. There's a lot of online places where you can buy ready-made Spaetzle already. They're dried, they're just like regular pasta, but I just always find that homemade is so much better. I'm just gonna go through my batter here. You can sprinkle some chopped parsley or some chives over your Spaetzle, and they make the perfect side dish for schnitzel, rouladen, meatballs, pork chops, and all of these recipes I have in my German recipes playlist. You can also just eat them on their own. They're so delicious. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.